best choice, the healthiest choice for me was not to continue this series at that time in my life. So Linda Valentine kindly took it over, and I give her lots of credit because it's really hard to take over from somebody midstream, and she had to sort of emulate my voice as much as she could and make it her own at the same time. And so I just give her a lot of credit for that. I'm very grateful she took that on, and I just wanted to give them a little shout out.
All right, we have another one on this side. I'm sorry, Susan.
No, just a really quick thing. That's something that a lot of people don't understand. Well, you as fans of anime and cartoons and animation, you experience and accept it, it seems to me, which is just so amazing that you do it so gracefully, the changes that occur during the course of the series. And so what they're always trying to do, obviously, is make it as seamless as possible so that they get somebody who sounds very, very similar to the person who originally played it. So if I had to go in and fill Terri's shoes, I would have been quivering because she did it so well. She personified, she just was Sailor Moon perfectly. We all know that. I mean, it was just utter perfection. So for an actress to come in and not only have to sound like Terri, but as she said, make it her own, is doubly difficult because you don't know, as you're standing there reading the line, you don't know, do I concentrate more on sounding like her, or do I concentrate more on performing it? Do you see my point? It's a really hard road to walk. So I just wanted to point that out, that anytime you see somebody replacing someone else, give them a lot of slack, because it takes a lot of guts. So are you, hello?
I just got to ask a question for the male voice actors. Were you expected to act or add a certain amount of class to the role, for your role? Because it wasn't like any of you were expected to be like macho characters. Was there a certain class that you had to give to the characters?
If that was the case, then they chose the wrong guy. He was asking if we were
being in the minority for male characters, if we had to bring class.
Yeah, as opposed to being like macho and tough, were you expected to be like?
I think that was, sorry, are you saying as opposed to being macho and tough and sort of the traditional kind of version of like a...
Like speaking in a very clean, clear tone, as opposed to being like very rough.
Yeah, I was never directed one way or the other, but as Vince touched on before, it was interesting because all the other, I had done a lot of animation up until then, and it was male dominated. This was the first series I had been in that it was female dominated, and Artemis and maybe Tuxedo Mask, we were kind of a little outside of the group of sailors.
Yeah, I felt that.
And I was never specifically directed one way or the other, but it was almost inherent in the part that we just, Artemis was just kind of his own.
Yeah, I think that, I was just going to say, I was just quickly reflecting on what you're saying. I think it was also very influenced on the way the show was written, created. The Japanese translation, we would sometimes see some of the original, so we'd have a sense of scenes, and so it felt like that. And I think also because Darien, they were teenagers, they were kids too. There's less of a sense of you haven't fully developed into your male voice at that point. So I think that influenced it as well, as far as the interpretation vocally was less about being, Superman or, something deeper. But I think that was mostly influenced by the creation of the show and the way the character was written. I don't remember ever being told to try and do that. I do remember when we got into the King stuff and the Moonlight Night, and sometimes the way they wanted me to adjust my voice, when I played those characters. Just because there was an air of royalty, there was an air, so sometimes we were making small tweaks with things like that, but never like being required to try and class it up.
So we have the mics here. Lady, we're waiting for your question. Would you guys be interested in ever dubbing a live action? In particular for Ron, would you ever be interested in dubbing a casual stick?
He's also CGI sometimes too. So. Well, I've sunk lower than dubbing a
I would dub Artemis in whatever form.
Would we be interested in dubbing the live action?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, sign me up right now.
Yes. Yeah, I'm in.
There you go. So I think the question to you guys is, how do we make that happen?
Demand it!
We've got another one over here. We're down here.
Hi, it's great seeing 5 of you guys again. Miss Terri.
This woman is an amazing artist.
Well, thank you, sugar.
Yeah, you have to see some of this. She gave us all drawings of our characters.
You're actually going to make
Unreal.
me turn as red
Unreal.
as Katie's shirt. I don't think that's actually physically possible for me to do. My question actually for each of you guys, since playing the characters, is there a particular characteristic of each of your characters that you think is inherently like within your own nature as you figured it out?
That's a great question.
Oh, I've got the mic. Okay. What's this thing? That's what Serena likes. Right?
Oh, what's this?
Yes, Serena, imperfect, klutzy, forgetful, insecure at times, and yet she has this inner strength. And I think through the series she acquires a greater sense of herself, her self-esteem, her own power. And I'd like to think that as I accumulate years on this great earth, that I can start to know myself a little bit better and feel that I have something to contribute as well. So, yeah, I relate to the imperfections and the growth.
Well, I'd like to say that I'm a good cook, but it would be false. But what I totally relate to, and I know when I listen to my voice and when I think of who I am, I know exactly why I didn't get cast as Sailor Moon.
We still love you! We still love you! We love you!
It's all right. Because I actually am very, very close to Sailor Jupiter in, oh, red I am. Okay. I actually am very, very close to Sailor Jupiter I think that I am feisty and I'll fight for what I believe in, and I especially will fight if I see somebody who's getting an unfair deal in some form of their life, and I can stand up and say, hey, yo, then I'll do it. But I'll do it much more for someone else than I'll do it for myself. I'm working on it, and $110 an hour, I'll have it figured out in 5 years. So, I think they were smart when they cast us. I think there were certain elements of us in all those characters, and so we could just sort of fast track it to the front.
Yeah, I'm very close to Sailor Mars. I'm very serious and stubborn, but I'm very loyal. And I think Sailor Mars gets a bad rap because I think, I was actually shocked. This is my first convention, and I get a lot of, she's such a bitch. I'm absolutely floored because I thought she's very strong, but I never thought of Sailor Mars as a bitch. I just thought she's just serious. She's got to get down to business. Yes, and so I feel like, and she's very loyal. So, there are a lot of, I definitely relate to Sailor Mars, but she's not a bitch.
She just has short temper.
Ron?
Artemis, I think as voice actors, every time we get a part, you try to make it your own, and hopefully that's why they hire you. And I think it took me, a dozen, 2 dozen episodes to kind of get a feel for it, and then we started writing part of you. And back then, I was a little cocky, a little on my own, a little whatever. So that came out hopefully in Artemis, and I relate to his character very much, and that kind of was me. And I think part of this is as a whole bunch of different parts of me.
Yeah. We are one and the same. I always insist on getting what I want. And do. Kidding. She, Rini is so full of heart and full of hope, and she's just that young, amazing spirit in her is something that I absolutely carry with me everywhere I go. And yeah, I actually think about her often. Like if I'm in a situation and I'm feeling like an adult and like feeling like, oh, I gotta pay a bill, I'm like, you know what, Rini would probably just eat a cookie. and I go with the cookie. And it's great. So yes, I feel like there's so much of her that I carry with me still.
You kind of stole my answer at the top, and you just went, yeah. Yeah, I mean, Tuxedo Mask, so many levels to him. The tortured soul, you know, his history, like the past. Not that I feel like I am a tortured soul, but you know, the parents, you know, like all the backstory for him. But I didn't really have that in my life. I just think that I do that to myself all the time. And I think to a certain extent, it just, you know, whenever you create a character or voice a character, you bring out parts of yourself just naturally. You try to immediately, as soon as you see scripts and stuff, you immediately go to, well, how does that relate to your life? So in every single scene, in every single episode, that's pretty much what I was always trying to do, was find my story in that story so that I could bring out the reality to it. So I always felt that as I was portraying them, but I mean, in general, yes, I feel like a superhero.
All right, I just wanted to throw something really quick out there, if you guys are comfortable with it. Can you say just something quick in the character voice? If you can, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but if you can. If not, don't worry.
Mars, fire, ignite! Jupiter, thunderclap, crash! Moon, healing, activation!
Pink sugar heart attack!
Oh, come on, get a life, Luna. We've got Sailor Scouts to save. Let's hurry.
I always wanted an attack.
He does have an attack in the manga, but you don't have
Yeah, in the manga, but never in the anime. I always remember saying, "Hey, meatballhead." I felt like my staple is there.
Okay, Eterland, you have someone over there.
Hello. I'm just wondering if do you have any favorite catchphrase or battle cry that you like to say as your character?
Mine is definitely pink sugar heart attack. Because I give those all the time now. Sugar, there are people around the world that are suffering from the pink sugar heart attack. I mean that in a really cool, fun way.
That's actually an interesting question for voice work as a whole, to have like a little signature laugh or a thing that gets you into character. And I think most of us do that. I certainly do. If I have a character to play, it might be a giggle or a chuckle or a laugh, and that gets me right into character. With Artemis, it was what I just said. Lighten up, Luna. Because I said that in the first series, and every time I say that, I get right into character. So for me, it's usually a laugh or whatever. For Artemis, it was just that line.
The one I said, moon healing activation, is one of my favorites because I think Sailor Moon tries to heal in her own way. But then I just think of her alter ego as Serena, and the line I like with Serena is something that just reminds me that she's just not perfect. She's not always a superhero. So something like, I'm gonna be late for school!
I guess mine would be, well, he really reminds me of my boyfriend. Well, somebody pointed out yesterday she's had so many boyfriends. I don't know. He really reminds me of one of my boyfriends.
Funny. I don't know a specific one. I guess Mars, Fire, Ignite, but I do remember being stuck on Mars, Celestial, Fire, Surround, because we couldn't come up with the translation. So I remember it. We went through a whole bunch of them before we got there. So every time we had to get to that, it just seemed like so many words. Nobody else was Mars, Celestial, Fire, you know, and it just kept going. And I thought this was very odd. Celestial, why are we? But anyway, that was, I know.
It's not that odd considering later on it's like Sailor Moon's phrases get longer, like Starlight, Honeymoon, Therapy, Kiss. Yeah.
Like you're being attacked. I gotta get these finished.
Okay, all right, Mark. Yep, got someone right here.
Oh my gosh, Dad.
Hi. Good morning. I was just wondering if there was an episode ever for Sailor Moon that got released where your characters somehow got gender swapped. Who would voice your character for that episode and why?
I think it would have to be Vincent because he always wanted a battle cry.
Can you do the moon healing activation?
But wait a minute, what kind of voice style would you... Do I do it as a man or do I do it as a singer? I lost the part. It recast. Moon Prism Power!
Do you have anybody? Or we're kind of going back and forth on each side of the room. So just right over there towards the middle back.
Oh, hello. It's nice to meet all you guys. I'd love to say, my name is Colin. I've been quite a fan of the show since I was a child. I love the characters, great story. You should all be proud of what you've done. Very well done indeed. Now, my question is, do you ever miss voicing those characters?
I miss it every single day of my, no, you know what I do miss? I miss being with all these guys and all these my fellow actors, and it's so nice to see them all again, because that's one of the best parts about doing voice work, is that you do get some nice connections going with other actors, and it's been, I mean, we started doing this 20 years ago, and we're still all talking with one another, which I assure you is not, you know, necessarily always the case. So yeah, I miss it. I do miss it.
I definitely miss it, just because, like I said, she was my very first voice ever. So everything I do, it's always, you know, she started me in this industry. And yeah, I absolutely miss it, and I miss everybody as well. I feel like, you know, we were a team.
Yes.
They've said it beautifully. Same sentiment.
Same, and actually, she was my first character too. First voice job that I ever had as well. So I have the very same feelings as Katie, and I mean, it was just such a fun process. And you know, doing Rhythmo Band, the way that we recorded it, there's just nothing like that anymore. And it was it was an interesting skill to hone, and to be in that booth and just, you know, just sit with Rini for 3 hours and get to be her. It was just such a precious time, and I do miss it.
And this is so cool because every time you do a cartoon series, you get very close to the cast, and if it's an ensemble cast, you see them every week for, you know, a season and maybe picked up the next season, and a lot of cartoons aren't picked up. With Sailor Moon, we started this so long ago, and we did a few years of it, and here we are today, and we've gotten together for some other conventions, and we're all still really good friends, and I can't think of another series, and we've all done a lot, that has the longevity of this. And I still see Susie and Katie a lot. you went away to LA, and you're in LA, and you went away, and now you're back, and it's the first time we've been together in a long time, but I can't think of another series that's had the longevity and the closeness of this one.
Something that Sugarland said yesterday, which I thought was so important. You were acknowledging the audience and their part in that, because we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you and your interest in the show and your knowledge.
I would echo the same things. For me, I miss it a lot too, because I don't live in Toronto anymore, and I don't get back very often, and I kind of miss you guys a lot. I miss the Toronto people and the Toronto actors. No, I really do. I mean, the actors, it's a different feeling in LA. LA is a very spread out city. It's you kind of go off in your own pockets, and in Toronto, we got to see each other like almost daily, some of us at the agency, you know. And this was my first ever ongoing series like that went this long with, you know, so many episodes and so much time put in. And, so yeah, just, you know, I felt like we were comrades, you know, in the show, as friends too. So I miss that a lot, all the time.
Okay, Mark, you have got a cat girl on this side.
Hi, I just want to say that I love all of you guys. You're amazing. And my question is there any point in the series or episodes that you found particularly hard to act or film?
I'll start just quickly by saying, because of the rhythm of the band, which was awesome, which was amazing. I actually missed that too. I love that skill. I felt the hardest thing about it was, you know, just having to try to bring character, my interpretation and stuff, when a lot of times we didn't get the stuff beforehand and we were just reading off the rhythm band. So that was, I never felt that there was any single particular thing, like episode or scene that was hard. It was just trying to always infuse my personality, the choices, while at the same time just trying to get everything perfect so it would match, and you know, there were so many things that you were doing at once with the rhythm band, and so that was always a challenge. It was a workout. Like, you know, we would finish like a 4-hour session, and sometimes I'd be soaking wet, sweating, you know, like just like a workout.
Do you guys remember an episode when Rainey was a teenager? Yeah, that one was a little bit tricky because I had only, you know, I knew her and identified her as a little girl, and I, you know, was putting on a smaller voice, and so trying to decide who she was as a teenager was an interesting day. I love how it turned out, but yeah, that was definitely a challenge.
Another thing that is interesting, and none of us has brought it up yet, is about the rhythmo band. So when the animation was done in Japan, and the mouth movements were different than North American mouth movements, in that there are very few movements of the mouth that form a perfect O. So if the script says, "Oh," and the mouth is going, "Oh," it's going to be, you see what I'm saying? It's a completely different sound. So very often you do a really great take, and you look back at it, and right in the middle of the take, you had said, "Oh," and the character's mouth definitely didn't support that sound. So you have to go back and redo it and change the sound to, instead of saying, "Oh," you would say, "Ooh." So that's why you get more, I think actually that's what kind of made it sound unique. So, because we couldn't make those round O sounds, those North American sounds, so a lot of times we had to just pull the sound into the back of our, well, Terri did that a lot. The sound is produced more inside of her mouth without an actual definite shape at the front. And that's because we're trying to disguise the fact that the animation doesn't support the way it was really originally written in English. Are you following me?
Yeah.
So I think it actually enhanced the show in the end of all. Because remember, there are no problems, only opportunities.
I just want to, glad Susan touched on that because we're talking about rhythm band and dubbing, but when we dub in from another language, yeah, we're reading the written word going across the screen and somebody has painstakingly like written it out almost phonetically and so it matches the mouth movements. I touched on this yesterday. When you do a cartoon that's not dubbed, you do an original cartoon, you lay the voice track down first and then the animators draw to your voice. So you have a lot more freedom when it comes to movement and creativity, and because they draw to you. With this, you're kind of stuck with, as Susan said, the mouth movements. So by reading it, your performance, to be perfectly honest, is a little bit handicapped because you have to adhere to what's there, but it takes a lot more concentration to get there. But a lot of times you're not kind of able to you have to stay within the lines that within the parameters that are written there. So you're trying to act your best as well as pronunciate it properly. So it's a whole different way of dubbing, but it's a talent.
Okay, we have about roughly 10 minutes left, so just so everyone knows, I know it's kind of tough on time, but we have a question right over there, the lady in the green.
Hi there, I was really happy to meet you guys yesterday, and throughout the show, was there ever a line where you just looked at it and you couldn't help but laugh at just how silly the line was?
Where did you start?
Seriously, there were so many. I can't think of one specifically. Do you guys have one?
I don't remember a specific line, but I just remember always having to come in like at the end of an episode or something, and like throw a rose and then speak these gigantic, long soliloquies, or sometimes they weren't even that long, but I would just be like, I didn't even understand. Does that even make sense?
It doesn't even really make sense in the Japanese version.
Yeah, I would like say it, and as we've said many times before, that we would read it. Sometimes it's the first time I'm seeing it as I'm saying it. So you're trying to create the emotion, create the character as you're saying it, and you'd be like, what's happening here? I'd finish the episode, I'd be like, I'm confused. Nicole would be like, it's perfect, and I'd be like, really? Okay, great, awesome.
And I'd be really concerned when I saw a script that, because for every open mouth movement there has to be a vocal sound, and Artemis a lot of times, like through the whole scene, his mouth was open, and the rhythm band would just be, and it would just go on forever, and you knew he wouldn't be able to speak for days after that.
You just reminded me of something that wasn't scripted, but it was drawn, and that was that Serena ate a lot. So she was always nibbling and munching, right? So I come from the school that tries to be as realistic as possible, I think as most of us do. And so I would bring little snacks into the sound booth, like graham wafers and stuff like that. And I thought if I really kind of ate them while I was talking, it would really affect my vocal quality, and I could actually do a little drink at the same time. But inevitably, I would leave the studio in a little trail of cookie crumbs on the little stand. I would just leave little bits of food for the next person to come in. That was rather silly.
So that's who it was.
All right. Okay. Yeah, one back here. Oh, right here.
First, I want to say I love all of you guys and what you did. Sugar, first, I want to say to you two that because of the way you played Chippy Ursa in English, I would role play her online, and I really have enjoyed it just because of you. Anyway, my question is, if there was a crossover with Sailor Moon with another anime, which anime would it be, and what would be a basic plot line, like not anything complicated, but basic summary of a plot line?
Have you guys done a lot of anime series? Like Sailor Moon's primarily the.
Maybe this is Jeremy's question.
Well, so what if they changed the question just a little bit with another series that they've done before? Because I think that they've only really done mostly the Sailor Moon stuff like that. Maybe if we can make it that way.
Well, do you mean, because I do some voices on Bakugan and Beyblade. Do you mean that kind of stuff? Like Beyblade versus, because I'd love to see Julie versus Sailor Mars. That'd be awesome. Sailor Mars would kick her ass. But Julie would be really funny to watch as she's running away from Sailor Mars kicking her ass.
I don't know.
I'd like to see Ming Ming and Rini try to do a duet. See what would happen there. That would be interesting. Ming Ming from Beyblade, if you know her.
That might be a fun contest sometime, Jeremy, with people who know more about anime than I do. I'll speak for myself.
Okay. Well, what about like Serena versus Princess Cece or something like that?
Oh, that would be fun. Yeah, they're both pretty powerful in their own way. Boy, you do your homework.
No. Okay, did you guys want to say? No? You're good? Okay. Okay, well, Troy. Right here, right here. Troy. Yes. Okay.
This is more an industry question, going back to the Ron and especially the schools here. Thank you. When we were growing up more in the 80s and the different voice actors, how do you feel that how the storylines from then and even Sailor Moon to, let's say, currently, do you feel that anime has, I want to say, changed a lot compared to when you guys had more serious storylines and you compare it using the Bakugans and the other stuff that is out right now? Do you feel that there is a gap or a loss of touch because you guys had such a personal touch with these characters in comparison to whatever is being produced today?
Can I answer that more in animation terms as opposed to anime terms?
That's fine.
Because when I started in the early 80s doing animation, a lot of the cartoons were, you know, wild and wacky and Hanna-Barbera, and my first couple of cartoons were Beetlejuice, and the voices were crazy and over the top, and then a lot of DC, Marvel Comics, and X-Men, and Avengers, and Silver Surfer, and they were more kind of, the voices were more dramatic and real, and I think there's been changes in anime too. I think animation, there's the goofy and the over the top, and then there's the more kind of serious, darker superhero stuff, animation-wise. Anime-wise?
Well, what really comes to mind first off is when you're thinking about the good old days versus what's happening now. One of the things that's important is to remember what Ron was saying before about whether or not a piece of animation is dubbed or if it's done from the original. So most of us, well, because I had done stuff before Sailor Moon, quite a bit of animation, and most of that animation was done before it was dubbed. So sometimes certain lines we would do 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 takes on one little line. So both Ron and I did Care Bears, for example, you know, Champ, and, okay, sports fans, you know, that sort of voice.
And Terri did too, I think, right? Terri did as well.
I think we were all Care Bears.
Oh yeah, we were. I think Jeremy was a Care Bear too, actually. I know, I saw. So there was a lot of time spent on the character, on getting the sound right, on getting it very nice and clear so everybody could. I mean, that was the whole thing in animation, was that you had to be in character, but you had to be crystal clear so that you could be understood, so that the animators could animate you properly. And in those days, a lot of the animators were actually here in Canada. So as time goes by, it starts to get done a little more quickly. I also did a cartoon for Nelvana quite a few years ago, quite a few for Nelvana, called Tintin, which I did a little... So that was an amazing amount of fun, but I spent a lot of hours in the studio barking. I mean, it was a lot of work, and so I think what's happened now is that a lot of projects, with all due respect, are perhaps done a bit more quickly, without as much attention to detail as it was in the olden days. So I think that you're going to watch a product that has got a little more heart in it, because the time was spent on it. Whereas now it's, you know, time's money, let's go, 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 let's get these. Well, you have been doing some dubbing and back again in Beyblade. I've done some of that. Don't ask me what part I played. I keep forgetting his name. I go in it and I go, wait, oh, I know, it's the one with the pearls. Yeah, okay. That's
Actually,
sorry.
can I just very quickly, yeah, I've done back again on Beyblade, and all the male parts in a lot of those are very kind of rough and tumble and aggressive and action-oriented, and so Sailor Moon is such a departure from all of that. It's the first series for Tuxedo Mask and especially Artemis, just kind of laid back and cool. All the other anime, I've done about a half a dozen other anime series, and they're all very aggressive and superhero and you know, kill violence, and Sailor Moon is so different from that for me, so it's nice.
Can I just add, and I'm not an expert on anime, but I've given a lot of thought to Sailor Moon. Why are there conventions like this? Why is there such a fan base for Sailor Moon, for anime? And I'm sure you have more ideas than I do because you're more educated as to what's going on in these plots, but they're so complex, they're so layered. The writers and the director, I think, spent such time figuring out the messages they're going to portray, the symbolism, I think the messages that we relate to as actors and you as the audience, that they're messages of hope and survival, and as Susan was saying earlier, and fighting for what's right and just. And those are very powerful messages. And so I think that we owe the writers a great debt in terms of their contribution to this series and why it's affected all of us profoundly.
Exactly. And just one quick last thing to say, to add to that. If you go to any of the characters for Sailor Moon, there's such a huge backstory. They've got what zodiac sign they are, what their favorite food is, and there's such a huge backstory that if you go to like Hikaru on Beyblade right now, I don't really know where I came from. There's a tiny bit of a backstory and there's a mother thing, but you never know, so you're sort of making it up yourself and making that decision. But Sailor Moon, we all had a huge backstory that you go on there, and her personality has been set since she was born. It's awesome.
Okay, well, that pretty much brings us to the end of our panel. I know it's time flies, a 2-hour panel. But I was going to ask if you guys, if you have any upcoming projects or something that you'd like to give a quick little talk about. Any upcoming projects or something, you can say something just so that everybody knows what you're up to these days. So.
All right, well, I'll start. I'm all Sailor Moon right now. I also do a series called Totally Spies. So, Alex, we've just completed season 6, so look out for it because it's gonna air soon.
I actually just finished doing a pilot, which unfortunately I'm hearing from Vince. Vince and I actually did this together. It was called Spyburbia. It would have been really, really fantastic, and unfortunately, created by Steven Souza, okay, Terminator, yes? Anyway, so that's a little disappointing, but tomorrow's another day, and something's gonna happen, I know.
That's nice here. So I've been spending more time since Sailor Moon writing and directing, playwriting. I wrote a film that was produced, I've written for other animation. I've been directing theater the last couple of years, and I've also gone back to grad school. So I'm studying women's studies and theater studies, and I'm hoping to take what I learn and apply it to my writing and share some stories, mostly girl stories, women's stories. I'm very interested in women's issues and women's rights and children's rights and those things like that, so activist theater. So if I get a website together, if my kids finally urge me to do that, or get a Facebook page, then you can check it out in the future as I enter this new techno-savvy world.
Does anyone know the cartoon Sidekick? We just started our second season of that. I play the Evil Master XOX. The Evil Master, It's a really fun character, so we're doing that. And we did a pilot for Dr. Dimension Pants, which hopefully will come out. It's Brad Payton who did Return to Mysterious Island. We're doing that coming up. I created and wrote my own cartoon series, which we just optioned, so more on that hopefully in the near future. And a few other cartoons I'm doing, Scared Squirrel, Monster Mascot, a few other things, and so thanks for all your support.
You probably need a voice or two in your cartoon. Great! Guys, I just got a job. Animation-wise, I'm just starting to crack it in the States. I went in thing to do, called Thunder Beards, and that's going well, so hopefully that happens. I have a movie coming out. It's rated R, it's comedy. So do not go if you're not allowed. And if you watched me on YTV, it's going to be a bit of a shocker. It's called For a Good Time Call. And yeah. It's I think that it comes out here in Canada on September 7th. So look up for that. And then I just did some videos where I play a 57-year-old truck driver, which was really great. She sounds like this. I love poutine. So that'll be on your computer screens in no time. And then I myself am putting together a pitch package. I just recorded 5 episodes of a show that I wrote called Homeless Harriet. And I'm most proud of that. So that hopefully will be on a network near you soon.
I just completed a new graphic novel that we voiced the characters for. It's called Anomaly, created by Brian Haberlin, who did Witchblade and Area 51. Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's pretty groundbreaking, pretty mind-blowing. Skip Brittenham, who is a co-writer, creator. It'll be unveiled in New York Comic Con. It's a giant coffee table-sized graphic novel, like about 2 feet by 3 feet or something like that. It's huge. And it uses this groundbreaking technology called augmented reality, where your computer, your iPad, your phone interacts with the book. So you feel like you're in the actual movie Minority Report, where things are happening in front of you that you can't believe you're seeing. When they showed us the demos of it at the recording session, I think my jaw was on the floor the whole time. I played the lead character, John, so that's coming out. And it's mind-blowing. I think you can go to a website called Experience Anomaly or Anomaly Experience. I forget if it's those 2 words, and one is either first or one is second. And you can watch a video. It's pretty unbelievable. I just finished the new Assassin's Creed video game. I'm not actually allowed to say what I did in it yet, but I'm allowed to say that I did it. I think that comes out at the end of this month. Kingdom Hearts series, we just unfortunately, yes, by Burbia. It was a great show, brilliantly written. I think they're still trying to shop that, so hopefully that'll come out. I created a show called Teen Jesus, but it's a little R-rated as well, a show, and we shopped it around. We had a lot. Fox was interested in it, but nobody wants to touch anything religious-based, especially if it's comical. But I was kind of proud of that because I thought it was very modern sort of version of that, and got a whole bunch of video games and minor characters and things like that I do as well. So, but I would check out Anomaly because it's pretty amazing. I'm blown away by this.
All right. Well, let's give a big round of applause for our